All right, Nick. So I'm cruising down the highway, not in my 6'4",
I
but
hear
in the
you.
caddy. No, not in the caddy. We're in the Nissan. All right, cruising down the highway. Hey, sure, a lot of us have heard this. That yeah,
What'd you do? Run off the road?
yeah. Most of us think that way. A lot of heads popped up. Hey, what's going on here? But it's at night, and we are driving into not rain, which was the next question. No, some swarm of bugs. They are already out. They
Oh,
are in
wow.
season. It's only end of April, and there were so many bugs that we thought they thought I'd run over those right the things on
Yeah,
the side of the road.
yeah.
Then they thought it was rain, and I'm like, no, look at that one. Right, we've all done that too, right? Oh, that was a big one. Like,
Wow.
not
It's like
fun,
the
but fun.
apocalypse over there in Tulsa.
Right. So this is always the question then. Get up the next morning, get out of the hotel. What are you and I going to do? I think most of us are going to go reach for a towel and grab some Eco One and start trying to clean them
Hotel, where
off,
were you
right?
at?
Hmm?
Where were you at?
Oh, back up to Kansas again.
Oh,
Soccer,
wow.
all that fun stuff.
Going to the Olympics, dude.
Yeah, going to the
Going
Olympics.
to the
Yeah.
Premier League.
Well, hopefully we're
Yeah, I
trying
mean,
to get
Eco
on what
won.
Ryan Reynolds has that team that keeps
Uh,
qualifying. We're trying to get on
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds' team. That's what we're
yeah, I
doing.
hear you. You might not want to be on that team with that lawsuit he's got on his wife and him. But anyway,
Oh, yeah, maybe.
yeah. So Eco won. I mean, this is kind of what we tell people. It's nice just to keep a bottle, whether it's our 32-ounce hyperclean bottles or our 16s. Keep them somewhere in your car, trunk, side door panel, whatever. That's the no brainer. Obviously, if you're in bug season, you could have a little bit of a different thing in the Midwest and the South, right?
All right, so that was the angle. Grab the Versatile, get some Eco One, spray out there. Now, we all know that I clean my car every weekend. We know that gets extra protection, just like we all say, and this is a coated car. Okay, here's why I bring it up because we see posts in groups, we'll even see it in ours. Hey, I did X, Y, and Z, but A, B, and C didn't happen.
Yep,
Okay, so I get some Eco One. I'm within 24 hours. What we say, get your bugs off within 24 hours. I've got a heavily protected car. Nick, not every single bug came off of that grill. Not every single bug came off the
sure.
headlight. Not every bug came off of the side mirrors. I have really, I probably about a 90% on the glass, but not everything on the glass. I got most of it, but I'll tell you, not everything came off. And there's where I think some people they'll go, hey, oh, hey,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
Like,
Hey, we see that. Why
hey,
didn't this do that? Why didn't this do this? Obviously, when you take on bugs, the your best friend is a pressure washer. Let's just say it straight out. I mean, you take on something like bugs, fresh tar, you know, nothing better on fresh tar than just your pressure washer, maybe a light chemical, but if tar sits there, that pressure washer becomes completely useless. And now you're using some type of solvent, right? And it's the same for bugs for me. I would say to people, and you and I talk about this a lot of people have been heavily affected by the internet and what they think is possible watching the internet. We see this a lot with spray sealants in air quotes. Okay. It's like, guys, there's nothing water based that has this immense amount of protection in it. It's a minor amount of protection. You want to really understand that it's not the same as a coating, like the coating is not the same as PPF, right? And it's the same when you're trying to clean up bugs on a road trip. I'm not trying to get the car 100% if I'm going to have to sit there and scratch away some of the more embedded, hard hitting bugs, so to speak, that got caught full head of steam, at a perfect angle. But I just want to get the messiest stuff off there, make sure I protect my car, get the stuff off there, enjoy the rest of my weekend, hit the road, get it back, do a little quick detail on it.
no, that's a great idea too. I'm now gonna add into my little, goodie bag that drives around to the soccer games. I'm gonna add some of our bug cleaner. Now, this is part of why our bug cleaner is unique. You can use it because you and I have been rinseless or waterless guys for most of our
Sure.
career, right? Like majority of our business for me when I was doing mobile, a lot of it wasn't even using a power washer, right? A
Yep.
lot of it is go into the person's garage, use waterless and clean a car. needed to develop then a bug cleaner, unlike others, right? You can't go grab normal bug cleaner and then use a typical waterless style wash. It just doesn't work, right? Too much foam, too much chemicals, too much stuff on there. You got to spray a lot to get it rinsed all the way back off. So part of what I
Too
do,
high of pH is really the
that's
problem.
probably a big part of it too, right?
You can't really neutralize most bug cleaners. So let's walk them through our bug cleaner just for everybody new here. Most bug cleaners achieve cleaning of the bugs by having an exceedingly high level of pH. Okay. Not through modern chemistry, right? Modern cleaners, modern ways to attack things. It's very outdated technology. You have to understand people are only selling tons of bug cleaner for a few months, like a couple times a year, not a highly investable, thing for companies. So when you look at it, when you have extremely high pH cleaners, something like most rinseless and most waterless can be hard to neutralize really, really harsh high pH stuff with just simply a something like an Eco One, right? It just doesn't work that way. And so where our bug cleaner comes in, to your point, is that we have a polymer base in it, okay, which makes it exceedingly safe. We're not incredibly high on the pH scale. We're using surfactants and different things to attack the bug, remnants and guts and all that kind of stuff, the acidity of those things. And what it allows you to do is basically take bug cleaner, allow that to set up. And then what I would do if I were on a road trip and you put bug in there on your way to KC is spray the bug cleaner, go right over top of it with Eco One and allow some of that cleaning power to attack. But you can't do this with everybody's bug cleaner. And this is not to talk about other companies' products. This is just a fact of chemistry that if you have exceedingly high pH, you can't just go over it with a rinseless wash and call it good.
So that's exactly my plan, right? Because I've done it before. Spray bug cleaner, come back and use my wash. And if I do need to spray, and on some areas, this is where some people are going to differ, right? Can you spray bug cleaner and then use a microfiber towel to kind of massage them off?
Agitate. Yeah.
I think you're going to go with how much liquid you put down, right?
Yeah.
How safe you make it's also going to depend on how much liquid you put down. And then you're going to go into, well, does it dry because I put so much, and what
Yeah.
happens when it dries,
And
right?
it
Like,
ran to places you didn't see and kind of all that kind of stuff. But again, guys, I want to tell people there's a big difference between what looks good on the internet and what you do in real life. When you're on a road trip, something were to happen on the interior of your car, someone got sick, whatever, and you had Revive on you, you're just trying to make it better. It's in no way the same as pulling out a steamer, being in your shop, being in your garage, being able to, take all the kids' seats out or what. I mean, that's not when you're on a road trip, you're trying to avoid big problems, not necessarily think of it like this is an extensive detail I'm doing at the Hampton Inn in Kansas City. And I think, I mean, honestly, I only say that because we keep getting so many different things, whether it's DMs or comments or people asking us questions, where I think they're misled by what's said on the internet instead of understanding how it works on that situation in the real world. So I think it was worth saying that.
the other part of of the weekend was another message I got. Now, this was interesting because in the time that I'm getting it, we're basically losing the tournament. Now, Nick, when you lost, how many tears did you cry?
Yeah, that wasn't a thing. I gotta imagine it's a
Is
big
that
thing now.
today's world or is that the sport? I
I'm
don't
just
know.
letting you know, you better not go down this road. People get real one way or the other. So I'm
Y-
just gonna say, I'm not even gonna say back in my day, not gonna be guy, get off my lawn. The crying's out of control. What do you want to say? It's
The
out of
entire
control
team.
everywhere.
I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
what
it
is
is
going
soccer.
on?
It is soccer. I
Anyway,
mean,
you're right. Let's get past all the crying babies and let's go with a message about crying that does happen. It happens when you mentioned it, you bought a car, you open up and you go, wow. Right. We buy so many people buy cars online. My Jeep, long time ago, bought off the auction out of Denver.
yep.
Got it. And I go, oh wow, I didn't see that in the pictures.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Pic-
there's whatever ways
Pictures
that
can be
people buy.
deceiving.
Yeah. So got a message from a guy that he now he's not trying to throw the other guy under the bus. I can appreciate that. Never
Sure.
listed who the company was, who the other detailer was, but he goes, "Hey, this guy brought me a car specifically saying, hey, the interior's gotten messed up," and you could see. So the customers, he's almost in right, like
Yeah, yeah.
it's it's a beautiful vehicle, and you can see right there
Cars
where
got cars cost a lot of money, man.
and somebody used the wrong well, I don't say wrong. They used uninterior clean. They used a general purpose. We don't know what they used, but they used something that then you could see they rubbed out the dye from the leather. Now, I have done that. I have. I don't know if you have. I mean, if anybody has ever back in the day or any time where they've got
Yeah,
a
vintage
cleaner and they've
BMWs used to
rubbed
be
the
real bad
seat and
about that.
you're trying to get this stain out or you're trying to get something out, and then you go, oh,
"Oh, what's that brown stuff on my towel?"
oh,
Yeah, no, it was a way bigger thing than you have to work exceedingly hard now to remove dye. You didn't have to work exceedingly hard in 2001 to remove dye. Like, it could happen pretty easily. So the fact that somebody did this on a modern car is pretty astonishing, because
you think they were from the group that always posts like down at Ollie's got this one for
yeah, I mean,
for
it's
7.99.
yeah, I don't wanna really judge people, but look, man, modern number 1, you're dealing with more vinyl than ever on the interiors. You're dealing with less natural leather than ever. We have way better coating systems on these interior parts than I mean, some of them are cheaply made. I mean, we do say that, but you're rubbing dye off a modern seat. You're doing something. I mean, you're talking about a heavy cleaner, heavy pressure. But I saw it with mine. We talk about my 2003 Lexus LX 470 that I bought. You just open that door and you go, God, this is unnecessary. I could smell the unnecessary behavior, just because it's burnt into my ecosystem in my brain, that smell you and I grew up with when I go, God, you don't have to be doing this anymore. And I think for the guy that messaged in, you probably get the same feel that I get is like, why are we still doing this? Why are we still going so harsh, so much level of cleaner? We get back to bug cleaner. Guys, you don't have to use these extremely dangerous bug cleaners to get the result.
So I think the answer is price. I think the answer is what am I going to get if I spend X amount and I can dilute it down and I can, because that's how just see so many people bragging about, hey, I can dilute this far, and hey, I can dilute this.
Yes.
I'm here to tell you guys, you can dilute things pretty far and still have some strong stuff in there. There's a
We
reason that product's cheap. It
yeah.
is from the ingredients, and the ingredients can go far. And that's the point. Is they went so far
Yeah.
that they then burn this car up.
You
I mean,
you and I have
it has
watched people you and I have watched people, hell, you've probably watched it happen, that diluted APCs or degreasers 10 to 1, burn up a wheel, burn up a door panel. I mean, in our heads, we're going, "Hey, it's 10 to 1."
the number one for me has always been when I used to do, trainings here at in Tulsa, right? And we'd invite everybody over. This was back when I would do the barbecue. I'd smoke the meat,
Yeah.
I'd brew the beer, we'd have a big party, and everybody'd come in. And we'd have different classes. One of them was on leather, and I taught my way, and then, made the mistake of allowing other people to discuss their way. And this guy, well, we used degreaser and we put degreaser in here,
Yes.
and then we put dressing because that dressing's going to do the
I mean, dude, but by the
he
way, you
the
you
no
you
no
see
no
that now.
the car the next day, because it was my location, and then it had to stay over because this was late. He was chalked all to pieces. You go,
Yes.
my guy, well, you
Yes.
you put degreaser on the
Yes.
car. I thought the dressing was just going to make
Well,
it
I mean
okay.
I mean, look, we see this, and again, it's not a judgment, guys, it's to talk openly. People talk extremely crazy of what you can do and get away with. When you're starting to think to yourself, I can buy this and I can get away with doing this. I just think that's the wrong premise to start detailing vehicles because look, for those that aren't listening to clutch culture, you're talking about forerunners now going from 60 to $80,000. It's not like Toyota has the highest level of interior parts in their cars. Go mix up that degreaser and that APC and just hope it all comes out. But if it doesn't, you didn't damage a $30,000 forerunner. You damaged an $80,000 forerunner. Just like we see buyers not understanding that the world has changed financially on cars, we see the same from the detailing world, whether that's a guy doing it in his driveway or that's somebody doing it professionally. I mean, we see that it's not registering to people. And when you take a product like Revive and you go, well, it's ready to use, and you go, yeah, but you spray it on a car and you're not sitting there worried about if it's going to chalk the interior. So doesn't that mean something when a goddamn Forerunner's 80 grand? That doesn't mean anything?
So the message this weekend, from your point, I love that you said that because that's what he said. He goes, "Man, I can spray Revive on the interior." So he got this car, and it came in, and this is a detailer, this is a pro detailer that messaged me, and another detailer had messed up the customer's car. Right. So
Yep.
the pro detailer's messaging me. He goes, "Listen, what I love about Revive so much is I can spray it on something, and if it dries, I don't have to worry about it." Now is what I love about him. He messaged me right after and he goes, I really don't, right? He's trying to,
Yes.
because he goes,
Agreed.
"Listen, I don't mean for it to do it, but I'm a mobile
Sure.
detailer, so it happens." And I
Things
love
happen.
the fact that he tried to go, "Listen, I'm not trying to do it. I'm
Yes.
not that guy. It
Agreed.
just happens."
Yeah, it happens. And again, when you talk about whatever product you want to use, if you start the sentence, I can cut it so much, there's only one way to achieve that. Only one way. Marshall, you can go back in the back and you can make the harshest cleaner that somebody can
Dilute.
dilute 250 to 1 and it can still burn plastic. That can, and by the way, that'll take you all of 10 minutes to make up. It's not going to take you 2 years or testing or whatever. Here's this, dilute it 250 to 1. I mean, that's done before we even get off the episode. Our guys could do that in the back. There's a repercussion to that. That you spray it on plastic and it dries, it's fried. And if it's not fried, it's not because of the cleaner, it's because you got lucky. That's it. You just got lucky that it would stand up to that exact thing drying. But then you're going to do it on the next car, and that doesn't stand up because it's a different plastic through a different system. And all of a sudden, you're in the boat you would have been on the last car, but you just got lucky and didn't know it. And I think that's what people don't understand. And I know our crowd does, but guys, instead of getting mad at these people, because I'm not mad that this detailer screwed up the car because it's not my car. I wish it didn't happen, but the education of that detailer is, dude, this isn't worth the risk. You're not getting anything out of this. You're not saving tons of money. You're not cutting a corner that allows you to grow more and get more customers. This customer left you and went to someone else, but you thought you saved the money. You didn't save any money.
So think about that situation, right? Like think
Crazy.
about that for a second. Because what you said there, like the guy thought he was saving something, but he actually lost a customer.
And lost whoever's connected to that person. Not just one.
Great point. Great
What
point.
if this guy, look, you're
Because it
going to
was a
run into
really nice
people.
car.
Yeah, you're going to run into people who are connectors in their friend group. Not everybody, but I've run across, and how your business grows is you have these people that when they get a good service, they do tell their friends and family. Not everybody does that, but the people that do, you can't identify who that's going to be. So what if this guy was the connector in his friend group and his family group? And let's say there were 10 people that eventually over the next year needed a car detail. You didn't just lose this person who went to another detailer, you lost everybody connected to them because they're never going to say, go use John over here. He does a great job. They're going to say the exact opposite. They're going to say, go to this guy who DM'd us. He fixed my car. he is really a professional, and the only difference is it's not skill related. One bought a safe chemical and the other one bought an irresponsible chemical. So you don't even know if it's a skill difference. This other guy that ruined the car could have more skill. He just screwed up the buying process.
Great point. Great point. I want to think about it from a different way. I want to think of, because this gets into a business talk, right? In a sense, because that's what you just talked about. We now are in a sense we got to think business here, and we go. We actually can begin harming our business by using what we
Oh,
just talked about,
100%.
right? Like you can't. So I also want to think business. I want to think of the moment of customer has an issue, right? We don't know what happened there. We don't know why, but that detailer messed up somebody's car. That customer, I wonder what happened in that conversation. Did he go and talk to the guy?
Yep.
Did he, just go over somewhere else? You know, when that happens, you and I have had it. We've all had customers that weren't happy. I've
Sure.
had customers that they complained about something, and either I fixed it and I kept seeing them back, or I know I just never saw those people again. So,
Or it escalated right in front of you. I mean,
or it
there's
escalates.
there
Yep, you're
right in
right.
front of
There you
you.
go.
I mean, so we don't talk as strictly business as we used to. We do talk a lot more detailing now. And the part of that is you can only hear the same things over and over again, right? There's only so many things about business, but we had a situation happen at HQ. Now, Marty's going to make a face here because he's the one that had to deal with it, and I'm just kind of the outsider here. But we had some water leak into the to our building, okay, basically. And so when you have water damage, you got to get it fixed. You can't just leave the water damage, and stuff happens, right? Like that's just stuff that happens when you have a building, rent a building, whatever. All of you guys that have rented buildings know, own a house know, things just happen, and you got to handle it. And so we have contractor come in, and contractors are nice people. We have no issue. You explain to them, hey, we're renting this. This is not our space. The landlord is not the most professional guy in the world, but he is a nice guy to us. I mean, we don't have like a personal issue. He's
He's
just,
easygoing.
yeah. Here's the
A
thing:
little too easy on
Yeah,
some
does he
things,
keep the nicest property the way I would keep my property, or many of you would? No. So we need to get this fixed, but we need to get it fixed the way of the building, not to the highest level. And then the contractor comes in and he starts to throw up some red flags pretty quickly. And they keep trying to press us to call our insurance company. Call your insurance company. Call your insurance company. Call your insurance company. Now, when you're a company of our size, let me say this. When something costs less than 10 grand to get fixed, it's probably a pretty bad idea to include the insurance company because you're going to pay for it in your premium for like the next 5 years. And the cost analysis really isn't worth it. So that's the first red flag is they keep talking insurance, 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 involve your insurance, involve your insurance. That probably should have had us walk away. So let's take the little bit of that on us. We probably should have said, you're not the right guys, but we didn't. Nice people. We know them. We have a relationship with them. We let them fix it. Now, guys, this amount of damage should have probably been fixed in somewhere between 2 and 4 days altogether. They were there for 10. And a lot of 2 and 3 hour lunches
people have
by
heard us talk about it. We've
yeah,
been talking about them the past weeks, right?
yeah,
Like,
have literally a lot of lunches, a lot of goofing off, but should have been in and out in 2 to 3 days, 4 days at max. And then it comes time for the bill. So let's just fast forward. The work gets done. It's certainly not Picasso or Michelangelo level work, but it's good work.
it's great work.
Okay, cool. So the bill comes, and the bill is about 2 or 3 grand above what basically this was all agreed upon. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In the bill, there is a $400 charge for dumpsters. And we have our landlord and yourself who dragged our dumpster closer to the building to allow them to demo the place and they used our dumpster. So we have an independent party, and then we have Marshall who moved the dumpster with our landlord, and they put a dumpster charge on the bill. So Marshall calls me and he goes, "Hey, there's a $400 charge. Look, the bill's 2 grand, 2,500 bucks more than I thought, but there's a $400 charge on here for a dumpster. They used our dumpster." So when you go through bills, as we have so many that come in for our company, raw materials and all these different things we have to do, you analyze the bill. That's all you do. You're not nitpicking. You just go, this $400 charge doesn't
You
make
just have to
sense.
make right. It's checks
Yeah,
and
check
balances in a
marks. Yeah.
sense. You just have to go, yep, yep, yep.
So I hope everybody's following the story so far. So Marshall sends an email and says, "Hey, look through the bill. You guys didn't rent a dumpster. You used our dumpster, and we had to pay to have it removed. And so there's just a mistake on the bill." This is where the business conversation enters the chat. This guy basically, and I don't want to use a word out of line, goes ballistic. It was our dumpster. We got a dumpster. We got a dumpster charge. How'd we get a dumpster charge? Now, mind you, we don't run the guy's business, and it was all over email anyway. So I'm not sure why he called you and went crazy, but that's what happened. Now, for many of you who have never had to bill customers because maybe you collect payment at the time, when you bill customers, Marty, you've built dealerships. I build huge customers here. I've got customers I've been billing for the better part of 15 years at the end of every month. From time to time, they're going to say, "Can you explain this to me? Hey, I found this charge. Walk me through it," or "I don't think this is right." For those of you that have never been in the bill sending business, and you may one day be there, the number one way to get people to question you from that point on is to go crazy over somebody saying, "This charge doesn't look correct." And this is where we get into the business talk. Guys, this guy goes on this holier than thou charade for basically the better part of that entire day and the next day and into the weekend of, "We did so much for you." And then he starts with it. "We could have charged you for this and this and this and this. By the way, had you, we would have paid the bill because we just said, okay, but the $400 bill was not a legitimate bill. You used our dumpster." And so, Marshall, I think that's where the conversation that we see so many times on Facebook groups, and this customer said this, and that, guys, somebody is allowed, if you're providing a service, to pull you aside and say, "I don't understand this charge. Can you walk me through it? Because I don't think it's legitimate." And if you've never been in that situation, this is a really hot topic to really, dive into.
It's not just the billing, right? I think a lot of more detailers also could find it in, hey, I didn't see this here before. Now it's here. Well, tell me like, hey, you scratched my car. Hey, what? We
Yeah,
go back to this
millions of
point
times.
with the interior, right?
Yeah.
How did that phone call go? Hey man, you just cleaned my car. I see that there's some stuff. I don't know, man. I don't. My
Yep.
my
That's a
seat's
good point.
different. My seat, like, so. To me, I go in this moment. You got to go into conflict resolution. I
Which
think
is
that's
hard.
really, we
Which is
talk
hard.
business, and if we got to put a category on this, we're going to go into the moment once a customer has an issue with the business. You could see this. You can see this at FedEx. You can see this at
Yeah.
the restaurants
UPS.
we go
Yeah.
to. You can see, right? Every single place you go to, once a customer has an issue, should the customer be allowed to question the bill? This is okay. Do some people that think it's below them to question? I wonder too. Some people think, I shouldn't ever even look at a bill. I should outright just trust
Yeah.
whoever it is that gave me the bill because it looks improper if I skim over, right? It
Sure.
looks like I'm a nitpicker, and I don't want to be a nitpicker.
Yeah, but when you're talking about bigger bills, so let's separate this out. You go to a restaurant, you expect to pay $100. Sometimes you'll come back and the bill's $250 and somebody just put the wrong things on your bill. You're like, yeah, I mean, that's not nitpicking, right? We'd all say I shouldn't go to a restaurant, order $100 worth of stuff, and have a $250 bill come out. It happens though. A server just made an entry error on the bill on the table, and so they go,
Listen,
"Oh yeah, that
as
wasn't on your
Tommy
bill."
Tech knows, as being a
Yeah,
server, I might hit the wrong button on the screen, and I just made a mistake. Like,
yeah. And so what do they do? They go, "Oh man, that's our bad." They go reprint a new one. And they bring it out to you. No harm, no foul. You leave a good tip like you were going to, and you move on with your life. And so conflict resolution is probably the right terminology here, but also if you have this idea that I think a lot of small business owners have, especially if you start out this way and you're new, or you're somebody who's seasoned who doesn't get questioned all that often, like my company is now, we don't have a bunch of this. Once in a while, we'll have to explain some stuff. I've always said, I'd rather explain it than you not ask me. So if you have a question, like I'm happy to sit here for 20 minutes, an hour, and go over what we did and why we did it and why you got billed that way. And I don't want there to be any confusion. But there's a flip side of the coin that a lot of small business owners find themselves is they think there's some higher calling and they're a business owner. And how dare you question a business owner? And it's like, guys, you can see it by how people write things on Facebook groups. Like if you really know what you're looking at, you go, oh, this guy, I feel bad for him because he's headed for a disaster. And that's what we found through this ownership group. There's two owners. When you talk to the owner today, which is about a week after this problem started, this guy gave a really poor excuse and he goes, well, you know how he is. No, man, that's not okay. You guys just made a mistake, which we're cool with. You put something on the bill that wasn't true. And it was just a mistake. That's the way we're taking it. When you have poor reaction, though, you know what everybody thinks to themselves, and maybe nobody's ever said this out loud to some of you guys getting your start. Now they think you lied on the whole bill. They think you lied about more than just one thing. If you get real defensive, people think you did more wrong. If you just go, hey, man, you're right. I don't know if that dumpster, let me check into that dumpster charge and let me get back to you before I say anything. So if somebody calls you and questions your bill, you go, okay, let me check into that. Give me 5 to 10 minutes. I'll give you a shout back. It doesn't mean you can't be a little bit angry for getting questioned. Everyone's human. But what you can't do is go start MFing people, which is what this guy did, and then had to send an email, which was also disrespectful the way he wrote the whole email out. He had to admit that they were wrong. Hey, there was a clerical error on our part. We didn't catch it. You were exactly right. But guys, the damage had already been done because he went so crazy over this $400 on a $5,000 plus bill that we were happy to pay. They were getting a check that day. We're now a week later, guys. There's no resolution to this. The contractor lost. We've lost time. All we did was send an email and say, please recheck your bill. You didn't rent a dumpster. Right? That's all that happened here. And when you talk about this kind of stuff, what I want people to understand is it comes down to me to mindset. There's a lot of small business owners that have this holier than thou mindset about owning a business. You just own a business, man, nothing else. Do your best. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do some great things. But when you make a mistake, it's okay just to look at somebody and go, man, we messed up the bill. Let me take that off and let me resend you a new bill. That's all that really needed to happen here. And it didn't happen because this guy believes that nobody should question him. And I don't think you come back from that if that's already your attitude in business.
that's hard to. I put it into the detailer, and I go, okay, here's what I see a lot too is when there's a quote unquote resolution, it seems to be that the average detailer will go, and let's just say a story like this. All right. Hey, you said you were going to do this, but I just don't think you got it all out. Right. Maybe it's
Yeah,
carpet
that
cleaning,
happens
or
a lot.
hey, the interior looks like this, but I just don't think you guys got it all the way out. Okay. And this could be what that contractor felt from me as a complaining customer. So let's just go ahead and say you
Yeah.
got Nancy calling, you got Ricky calling, you got
Yep.
whatever, and they're not happy. Okay, let's say you didn't get it all the way out, and maybe you thought that was as far as you could go, or it was your call, and you go, they paid for this, and so I gave them what they could. Either way, right?
Yep.
Whatever reason it is that you did not get the stain out, what are you supposed to do?
Well,
There's where I think that nail hits the hammer on the head.
the
And most of them will go, okay, like what we heard. Well, let me get you something off, right? Or
yeah, well,
or
you
let me
don't
take care of like let me wipe this off. And you
yeah.
go, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, nobody was asking for that. So, you make a good point. So the key would be this happens a lot in the PPF world because PPF is not you have to do a lot of checkups a week later, 2 weeks later, there'll be problems that present, things lift up, whatever. Same with the carpet, right? So if you know in the moment, I can't get this stain out, then you should have brought them over at the end of the detail and pointed at the stain and said, I want you to know something. There's no safe way to get this out. I used all the cleaners that can be used on your carpet safely. I used all the equipment that can be used on your carpet safely. Any further, and I'm going to cause more damage than that stain, but the stain is 75% better. It is what it is. If they present a problem at that point, you got to handle that situation by situation. But they sent a bill. So let's go back to our story. They sent a bill, a problem got presented, it never went into solution time. It went into argument time. And we never make mistakes. And I'm holier than thou. And how dare you question? Guys, we had an independent person called our landlord who helped move our dumpster with us. They weren't even involved in paying the bill. We were going to pay the bill. So we could have pulled them over and said, do you remember moving that dumpster? And he'd have gone, yep. Nobody was out to get you. And that, look, I can say is something I struggled with. You're early in business or you're late in business and you find yourself in these situations a little too often, it's a you thing. It's not a everyone else thing. It's how you're handling it. It's how you're, and by the way, that's a tough pill for all of us to swallow. That, hey, I'm not good at this. I got to get better at it. I can't be so defensive. And that's the word. The worst place you can be in business when handling a tough situation is defensive. That's the worst place you can be. Okay. The best place you can be is being offensive and saying, okay, how do we resolve this problem? Like you said, the stain is a perfect example. There's a lot of guys that just hope somebody doesn't notice it. Okay. Then the problem arises and they're in a shit show. And they're like, how did I get here? And how did this happen? And it's like, well, you left the job knowing this was problematic. It's okay to pull them over and say, I've done everything I can do. Anything further, and I would be damaging your car. And everyone's scared to death to do that.
I I didn't even go with the damage part when I used to do it. I would always just say, "Hey, I worked on your stains. I tried everything I could, and they didn't come out."
Yeah.
I never had anybody go, "Oh," like they go, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks." Yeah, I knew, right? And then
Right.
they would know. I
Sure.
knew. Well, I did this. I knew I should have done. I
Yep.
knew I should have.
Good
Okay, well, we
customers will
tried.
always do what you said. They'll always go, yeah, I kind of figured. Yeah. And you don't lose a customer because you pull them over and tell them the truth. You lose a customer from defensiveness. How dare you question me? Do you know who I am? Now, you may not say those words, but it's going through your head. I can tell this contractor by the emails I got, it was going through his head. How dare you question me? And it's like, no, man, the bill was wrong. Doesn't make you a bad person. The bill was wrong.
So you've said something, and I would say I definitely did that journey myself. You said you don't get it as much often. So you
Yeah.
used to get it at one point, right? I
Yeah.
used to get complaints and work with certain people, and you go, listen, I just don't want to work with these people again. And that's some of the
Yes.
advice back to the contractor was, hey man, maybe you should stay in the insurance type of world and not in the
Yeah,
B2B type of world, right?
sure.
Maybe go over there because that's probably a better place the way you guys operate. I
Yeah,
got
it's a more rough and tumble place. This is a more you gotta explain to people what you're doing. In that place, you're dealing with somebody 3,000 miles away looking at a bill they don't understand, right? Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you, and I tell people this, all the time. One of the red flags I stopped overlooking in my business, because we all have them, was if I got to someone's house and they were so off on telling me how bad their car was. Like, let's just say they didn't tell me they had 2 huskies riding around with them every day of the week for 6 months, and I get there and I go, "How'd you leave this out of the story?" That kind of thing, right? I'm not talking about somebody just misunderstanding what their paint condition is or just not knowing what they're talking about, but we all have arrived at someone's house where they completely and utterly lied about the condition, and it's obvious to you. They didn't just misunderstand the words, they actively didn't tell you about certain things, right? I just would never do business with those people. I just flat out would go, "Hey, you didn't tell me about all this. Let me go over your car and I'm going to give you a new estimate because this isn't what we talked about." And there's some people that stood back and go, "Okay, that's cool." And there's other people that get defensive immediately. And you go, "Okay, man, this isn't going to work." And I would leave. Now, my business was on solid footing at that point, and I didn't need every job when I did this, but I never looked back. If somebody just flat out will lie to me about having 2 Siberian Huskies filling their car with massive amounts of hair for 6 months, then I never thought they were gonna be a good customer for me. It wasn't about the dog hair because I took care of plenty of dog hair in my life. But the people that I took care of, they were honest with me like, "Hey, man, I take my dog everywhere." And then you had these other people that were like, they didn't want to tell you because they've already talked to other companies and those other companies already told them. And so they thought they'd get around the system as if you weren't going to see the car, which I always thought to myself, what kind of person calls a service that knows they're going to see a car and lies so obviously about what's going on in the car? Not misunderstanding, not knowing detailing terms, but flat out lie to me. And I just didn't deal with them. I would they would either accept a new price or I would leave and say, "I can't help you at that price."
So the interesting we something that we talked about, before was detailers don't really realize either. Sometimes when they get caught, they can get caught from security cameras. They get
Oh,
caught from stuff if they do things wrong, right? Like the car wash, we had customers that would complain about something. We go, let's go to security, let's go to the
yep,
footage,
yep.
right? You get into some of these houses that people are going to watch it. People are going to see, and I think that is another differentiating factor between
Yes.
we love all the car wash to detailer, right? Well,
Yep.
detailer to business owner a lot of times realizes they're being watched and they want to do things because they understand there actually are on,
Well, think about
but
this.
they
By the
know
way,
what
that
their
happens in
customers.
your shop. If you have to go to the footage in your shop, not just mobile guys.
Yeah, good point.
If
Good
you have to
point.
prove something to a customer, you gotta go to the footage. You come on my street where I live, I have a guy that lives directly across the street from me, has done my security here at the shop too. This guy's a security expert, like, for big companies here in town. You come on our street, you pull on our street, there is not one place on the street that you're not on camera from this one guy's house. Then he set up all the neighbors' house. Buddy, we can see into other parts of the neighborhood. Like, you're not getting away. I mean, this is what this guy does. So you're a detailer, you roll onto my street, you do something to somebody's car, it's going to be in high definition. It is not going to be grainy. Like when they have to pull footage, bud, it is full color, full HD. They could in some of our in front of my house, I have a microphone. I can hear what you're saying. Like this happens in people's shops. And so you bring up a good point. Like you're in a position now where there's no use in being defensive. There's no use in being argumentative.
But do you give the discount?
I've done that very rarely in my life, but I think if you, as a business owner, if you say you've never done it, you're probably not being honest. We've all taken the hits. We've all told somebody to go away. This is on us, and wiped it away and said, I just want this person out of my hair.
And we've had the lady that goes, "Okay, but that's not what I paid for. I paid for that stain to come out." And they are expecting now, because they complained,
Yes.
a deduction. And I think there's a lot of business owners that get defensive at that moment. You know, I don't
And
didn't ask for a
and by the way,
deduction.
rightfully so. We're all human. Okay, there's going to be times when people say things to you a certain way, and you go, "That didn't come off right," and I don't like that. And that
But it
person
seemed to have
talked to
come
me a certain.
across, right? The way I
Yeah,
guess had said it or questioned something. It was like, "Hey, you're now trying to get one on me."
it's like, no, man, just a mistake on a bill. It's not that
But
big a
there's a lot
deal.
of detailers that get defensive in that moment. Like,
Yeah,
okay, wait, I was here for 5 hours. And now,
I worked really hard, and look, when you're in this labor intensive world, whether you're a plumber, a drywall guy, a painter, a detailer, you know it's hard work. It's not easy work. And when somebody feels like they're questioning your hard work, it can be very tough to listen to because you were the one sweating. You were the one, out there doing your best. But at the time, you got to say, how do I de-escalate this and get the hell out of here?
and don't you de-escalate it by going, "Hey, I need to get an intake form. I need to at least ask the customer." I think that's how I learned. As I
Yes.
go, I from then on out, after I got some of those early ones, I go, "I'm done with that. I'm going to ask the customer what they're looking for."
Yes.
Even today, if I get some random call and they go, "Hey, I'm looking for a detail," I go, "Can you tell me what the detail is? Like,
Yes.
what is it that you're wanting?" Right?
Yeah,
Like,
because
I
like you
gotta
said,
hit
somebody
the
could be talking
top
about a
things.
wash and wax, somebody could be talking about an extraction and shampoo, you just don't know.
And so
And
then I've got to find the people. So this is a business talk, and we always wonder about, how do I get people, and then how do I keep people? It's about finding the right people, using your system that then mirrors in with what they're
great point,
wanting,
great
and
point.
then continuing it over and over and over.
Yeah, so I'll say this, if you're doing a lot of interiors, and I think this is probably the same on exterior, I think one of the final things I say to anybody and have my whole career, not everything comes out. Not everything, I see you got some stains on the carpet. Hey, we got an excellent system. We got excellent tools. We've been trained in all the right things to do to take care of your car.
Nick wears
There's
his
high
badge.
likelihood.
He shows his
Yeah.
certificates. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot high likelihood that some of this stuff's not gonna come out, right? Like, you gotta understand, like, stains are unpredicted. You can't predict them. I don't really have a problem saying that to people, and I think one of the things you learn as you get in business longer, a lot of it is how you set things up, not how you end the detail, right? There's a real comment that gets overused, but it's absolutely true, especially for small business people that are interacting directly with customers. Under promising and over delivering is going to save you 99.9% of the time. It just is. Because if you go in there and you go, oh, your interior is going to be spotless, they hear that word spotless. There's going to be some, not all. There's going to be that 5-10% that are going to take that to the nth degree. And if they see a spot, they're going to point at it. Then they see a second spot. Then they see a third spot because spotless really isn't a thing. Okay. But that 10% of people, they're going to take you at your word and they're going to twist people's words and they're going to be that tough customer. So, what I think I've learned and that I can pass on is I am very hesitant to make promises. Very hesitant. I don't care if it's paint correction, coating, interior, PPF, tint. I'm not in the promise business. I'm in the here's what we do, here's what can happen, here's what the result could be. You need to understand dot dot dot. And then I find that number one weeds out the bad customers. And secondly, the good customers, they never come in at the end and go, well, you said spotless. They just don't do that. They go, wow, this looks really great. But I set the expectation 6 hours ago or 2 days ago on PPF or whatever it is service you're providing. And it's all about the setting of expectations that this contractor really never did with us. he never really set the bill expectation because he kind of loosely said, yeah, a couple grand. Well, a couple grand's like two, maybe three. It's not five and a half. Because if it's five and a half, you go, it's going to be 5 grand. That's how you speak. Right. But even when we got it, because the situation was handled, it's like, cool. Hey, I think there's a mistake on the bill. The blowing up has caused a major issue. And now business partners are involved and extra people are involved and they're making excuses. They've sent emails knowing that they're in the wrong, but they can't back out of it because A, they didn't set expectations. And when they made a mistake, they didn't know how to handle it.
It's interesting that promise you said. Like that's interesting. You stop promising people. Like
Yeah, I
it,
just don't.
there's a lot of people online that make a lot of promises. I think there's one individual that I sent to you earlier who now is online going, hey, listen, I'm on a new journey. Made a lot of promises in the past. A
Yeah.
lot about their codings, a lot about what they do, a lot. And now he's out. And you go, huh,
What happens to those promises now?
what happens to those
And
promises?
also, you promise people you were an owner. You promise people it was for life. You promise people this. Things change. So I don't mind people going on, hey, this isn't for me anymore. Hey, one day that could happen to you and I. People go on new journeys. People, but nobody will ever look back at us and go, there was all these promises made. No, we told you buy our chemicals because they work. Follow us because we have been doing the business for a long time. Be a part of this because the hyperclean specialist group is fun and we make fun of license plates and we have a good time. But what people will notice, and I hope all of you feel this way, I haven't made people a bunch of promises we couldn't fulfill. I haven't said, hey, we're going to have a coating that you put on your car and you're never going to have to coat the car again and the car is going to be perfect for the next 100 years. We don't do that. That's just not who we are. And most of you aren't that way, but you have to tell people you're not that way at the beginning of a detail or the beginning of a business interaction. You could be a CPA listening to this, a lawyer listening to this. The biggest problems I've had as a consumer of expensive things is somebody lying up front about what to expect out of that expensive thing, right? If somebody just goes, hey, man, I've been joking on here. I've been dealing with a refrigerator issue. It's a 5-figure issue. 3 different people lied to me about the issue. The final guy looked at me, he goes, "Sucks, doesn't it?" I'm like, "Yeah, thanks for telling me the truth." He's like, "Yeah, it's complete BS, but this is the way it is. If you don't like it, call them because I don't think it's right, but I can't fix it because I gotta work through this company, and this is the fix." Guess who fixed the problem for us? That guy. He treated us, by most people's account, the worst because he looked me in the eye and he goes, "Yeah, you're not gonna like this. I don't know why the other 2 people didn't tell you, but this is gonna suck and it's gonna cost you a lot of money. Should it? No. Will it? Yes." Used him, only guy that fixed the problem. And guess what? He set the expectation and it wasn't an easy pill to swallow. It absolutely wasn't. But he looked at me in the eye and goes, "This is the reality. That's why the other 2 guys that tried to fix it couldn't fix it because this is it. Here's the bulletin from the company. It's on you. They're not going to fix it for you. Should they? Yes. Sorry, bud. Do you want to pay the bill or not? Because I got to get out of here." And when I said, "We're going to pay the bill," he goes, "Great. I'll be back in 2 days." Guess when he showed up? 2 days. Not a day early, not 3 days late. Put the new part on and goes, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry about this. Can you give me your card?" That's what he did. And he just set the expectation. Let me tell you something. It wasn't a positive interaction, but it was positive when you looked at him going, he's just telling you the way it is. And 90% of people will not be a problem if you set the expectation, then you perform. And at the end, if something doesn't come out of that carpet, you look at them and you go, I kind of told you, man, this is the one we struggled with. And they'll go, great, here's your money with a tip. Thanks for doing this. You were great. That's just the way it is. And I think we don't have these situations very often that we can share, but we did want to bring you into our world. Has nothing to do with detailing. It has nothing to do with it, but it's a business thing that we watch somebody that even to this day right now recording this, I can't believe what's happened. Now that company's going to get paid and we're going to cut the check and we're all going to be fine, but we're never going to have a relationship as a business again And it really was all over, you just made a clerical error, which seems really strange, but it happens every day.
Hmm. Here's a promise, Nick, we can make. We're not going to be big on promises. We can make this promise. Go to hypercleanstore.com, search for Ultra Dress, go find it, dilute it how you want, and you are
Uh,
going to love your tires.
yeah,
I
we've
drove
been
all the way up to Kansas City, went through everything. It made it all the way until the last day when we got hit by rain. I had to drive through a whole bunch of rain. Ultra Dress, you, I promise you, you're gonna love.
yeah, you and I have been talking about, I have it on my all-terrains here for my Lexus, and I get it. I don't get the weather you everyone gets in the world, but my tires, again, even when they lose the shine, they have that dark, rich look, which is what I like. And dude, it's I can just like, clean up my rims and call it a day. I mean,
Mhm,
I mean, for probably like 6 to 8 weeks,
mhm.
the way that I drive this thing, and it's and obviously in the climate that I'm in, but dude, I'm loving that. So anybody that hasn't tried it, just trust me,
You got to. You got to. Go
it's
try
just
it.
fantastic.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys.